Iedereen! We probably messed that up.
Yeah, we're not.
Goedenavond was right. We're still
Goedenavond,
learning some
iedereen.
vocab. Iedereen. It's Dutch. We're doing Dutch.
We're trying to
doing
be Dutch
things. We're trying to be Dutch-ish. Hold on. Ik spreek een beetje Nederlands, maar
Langzaam.
langzaam.
Zam.
Yeah, maar langzaam. Trying to say I speak a bit of Dutch, but slowly, but apparently like much slower than I thought.
Very slow.
Tonight we're doing Dutch things. Most of this is going to be in English. Yes.
We're gonna try to say as many of the Efteling attractions in their native language.
Not all,
but not
of
all
them.
of them.
Some of them we will not be able.
We're not
to.
as skilled.
Welcome everyone. We appreciate you tuning in, whether you're Dutch or not. Blair, welcome. First one on the stream.
Yeah.
Trophy goes to you. Oop. I don't know if that was meant to be oop or OP. I think OP. I'm going to go with OP.
Maybe opening. I don't know.
We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Storing Thrills, Tim, welcome. Thank you for checking our audio. I just turned the music and I may have made it a little too loud. Let me bump it down.
I can hear the music and normally I don't.
Normally you can't.
It's just
I want it to be overpowering.
Just meant to fill like silence.
You just want it to close a gap.
Yeah.
Hey, keeping up in Disney, Jamie and Ari. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. We love making them.
We love making Field of Screams videos. Okay, so tonight we're tackling.
Tackling?
That is neither Dutch nor English.
That's just a mess of words.
We are tackling a subject that is very near and dear to our hearts, and I think would have been even if we'd never ever been to Efteling, but the fact that we've been to Efteling just makes it our most favorite theme park in the world so far to date. So, yes, that one. So, we do have, okay, let me preface this by saying this. We do have a lot of Dutch viewers that we picked up due to our having been to Efteling and released some vlogs over there. If you haven't seen our vlogs from Efteling, it's a Dutch theme park in the Netherlands. It's very, very popular. Many people refer to it as the Dutch Disneyland because comparisons are easy to draw between what Disney does in the United States and what Efteling has done overseas. However, we prefer to think of Disneyland as the domestic Efteling at this point.
Yeah, we do that.
Efteling actually didn't. I think it did come first, but it was like mostly the Fairy Tale Forest, which had no rides or attractions or prominent. And anyone who's Dutch and is watching this after the fact, by the way, we might get the history totally wrong. We tried to do a little bit of homework. We're trying to learn Dutch, but we're gonna fail probably right out of the gate. So just apologies in advance. But it is actually on behalf of those Dutch viewers that wanted us to kind of dive more into the European theme parks that we've been to, Efteling in particular, because Efteling is very, very popular in the Netherlands for obvious reasons.
And in Europe in general.
And in Europe in general. It is a
destination park.
Fantastic theme park.
Yeah.
Goodness,
Absolutely.
Blair. Are you okay?
You're okay. Goodness.
I hope that wasn't just now. Oh my goodness. So yeah, we'll go ahead and dive right in. I have a feeling that right now in the Netherlands, it's very, 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 very late. So many of our Dutch viewers will not see this until tomorrow. If you're watching the replay, thank you in advance. And additionally, sorry in advance for all the things we mispronounce. But we're going to do our level best. We're trying, we're learning, we're growing as people.
Yeah.
So real quick, our socials, The Real Tim and Katie on Instagram and Threads, Tim and Katie on Facebook, and timandkt.net, our website, is almost up to date.
Working on it.
It's actually almost up to date. We're doing a pretty good job, I would say. And the reason for that, I will go ahead and throw us under the bus, is because we suck at getting vlogs out consistently. We have taken a couple of weeks off to retool and get ourselves together. And there has been lots going on behind the scenes, a lot to work out. So there is no vlog coming out this Friday, nor was there one last Friday. We do have a recent vlog from Paranormal Cirque. If you guys have not seen that, I highly recommend you check that out. It's an incredible Cirque du Soleil style haunt experience, or haunt style Cirque du Soleil experience, depending on how you choose to look at it. You can't do it. That's actually a perfect transition, because if you had wanted to do something like a haunt, like Field of Screams, and you didn't feel like you were up to it, and Blair, I know you are a veteran haunter, so this is no big deal for you. Although I think you might be under the age cutoff.
Possibly.
Paranormal Cirque is an R-rated spectacular circus. We were lucky enough to be hosted by them, and it was scary, but not terrifying. It's not like a haunt experience. It's just a haunt-themed circus.
It's spooky.
It has a little bit for everyone, I think. Yeah.
But very impressive acts. All.
You know, you said axe, and I realized now you meant ACT.
Yeah, not axe.
Like axe throwing, and I was like, I don't remember that.
I started glancing down at the comments, and I saw Tim's, I've seen you at Field of Screams once, and I was like, is he talking about us? And then I was like, I guess, we've only seen him once at Field of Screams, but we've seen you many times before that.
Tim, I hope you're working at Field of Screams again this year.
Where it is nice to run into people.
We will always be back.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's what we've been up to. We have some other stuff coming up. Normally this is the time where we talk about like what's coming up with us and theme park news on the live stream. Unfortunately, most of the domestic theme park news has been kind of bad recently. There's been some stuff that's like exciting, that's like been in development for some time. Disneyland Forward did get fully approved, so that was a big deal.
But we've brought up Disneyland Forward many times. I don't think anything's worth like digging into. And y'all know that we ended up like spending a lot 30 of time to 40 minutes talking about it, park news, and then diving into our main topic. And as much as we love doing these things, eventually we do have to go to bed. And y'all have to go to bed. And we appreciate when y'all stay on as long as you can.
I was on the hayride and the clown part, and they got all up in my face and touched my hair.
They will do that.
They do that.
They will do that.
Tim does that. Dorman feels. He does that all the time. All right. We're going to dive into what we actually have to talk about. It's a little bit of a different vibe from the haunts that we normally talk about. But
not normally, that we often
talk about. We have been doing a lot of haunt stuff, but we've also been doing a lot of theme park stuff. So, and that will be consistent with our channel. We're getting
into like springtime, summer, which is a big theme park season for us as well. And eventually we do get around back to haunt season.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. It's coming. I only have haunts on the brain because this weekend is East Coast Haunts Convention.
Yep.
In the meantime, let's talk about Efteling.
The Efteling.
The Efteling. So that is one day at the Efteling. We are continuing kind of our series that we've been doing on the live streams. If you haven't been watching recently, our live streams have been kind of like helping you plan out if you only had one day at the theme park of topic that we're discussing.
What do you think you can't? What do we think
you won't be able to do
miss?
Everything. So what should you do? What can you do with that time that you're spending? I do want to lay down a couple of ground rules because Efteling is an amazing place and we want to do it justice. But bear in mind that we don't live anywhere near close. It's 12, 14 hours just to get to the country or the continent.
It was only 8. I think it's only an 8-hour flight actually.
Plus or minus with the drive and everything.
But you do need to like go to across an ocean to a different country.
And we're East Coast, so we're closer.
It's a couple $1,000.
If you're on the West Coast, it's significant.
Yeah, and by then when you get there, you don't want to just stay there for a few days. You want to stay there for a long time. So if you find yourself at Efteling or in, maybe you're doing like a European theme park tour and you only get 1 day or 2 per park, we have only... Technically, I've been there twice, but together we've only been there once.
And it was very, very different when you went than it was
correct.
when
and then
we went together.
When we went, we were able to get 4 days there. So this is based off of what we did over 4 days, what we think cannot be missed, and what we think you should, absolutely plan to do. And then, just like with the other live streams, if you end up with extra time, here's some things we're like, okay, well, these are next tier things that will definitely help fill out the rest of your day.
Yeah. And typically when we do these types of live streams, we usually try to give you like a hard itinerary. And this is a little bit different because Efteling is not laid out like a typical American theme park. There are no fast passes. There are ways that you can get a little bit of an advantage, but you'd have to pay a lot of extra money to stay at one of the hotels. And we're just kind of approaching this from hey, you're in the Netherlands, you're nearby, this is a must-do destination, what can you do with a day?
Yep.
So there's a lot to talk about still, but it's not going to be quite as organized into an itinerary. It's going to be more freeform and what we think you must do or can't miss. And we'll leave it up to you to make these decisions when you actually make it there.
Depending on, if you enter from the main entrance, you'll be closer to some attractions. If you do happen to be staying like at the Efteling Hotel, you may enter from the back and it might be good to hit some different ones first. So yeah, we're not going to give you like a play-by-play, but we do think you should have like...
If you want the play-by-play, you should check out our blog. We do have 2 of them.
But we do want to give you like, hey, these are the attractions we think are so unique to the park, so special. And hopefully, ideally, you'd still have the time to look around and try to take it in because it's just so cool.
And since Tim pointed it out, this is one of several large-scale, massive animatronic dragons throughout the park. Off the top of my head, I can name 2 others. I'm not going to yet because it'll be a spoiler. But this is from Joris and the Draak, which honestly, the coaster, there's not a single bad coaster in the park. There's not a single bad ride in the park, honestly.
Ride.
But this is actually not on our must-do list because as coasters go, you can ride coasters like this elsewhere. You should walk up and say hi to the dragon.
Absolutely. Yep.
It is outside the main queue, so you can do that whether you ride the coaster or not.
Yep.
All right. So particularly for any of our Dutch friends who watch this after the fact, we did want to include some disclaimers because we thought ahead about how this might be received, and we have some thoughts that we want to make you aware of. We have only visited the one time together. Katie, obviously, as she mentioned, has been before, but it was a very different park when she went. She was very, very young and doesn't remember quite all of it.
Yeah, and I can't... Yeah.
It was a different time.
Different
era.
Yes, a different era of my life.
So bear in mind that we were intending to spend 3 days here. We wound up spending, I would argue, 4 with the 2 half days.
Yeah.
Technically 5 different park entries over the course of 5 days. So amazing time, but we haven't done it all. Because you can't. Even over that course of time, you still can't do everything. So bear with us if we missed something, if we forgot about something. I already know we forgot or weren't aware of where to get pins from. We've been corrected on that several times since posting our vlogs.
Yep.
Next time we'll know. Yep. But there's probably other stuff we don't know too.
Yeah.
We are also seeing all of this through American eyes. This is particularly relevant for food.
Right.
Because I am positive that in the Netherlands, where all food, to our eyes and mouths and stomachs, all food, everything we ate was magnificent. Compared to American food, we might recommend that you go to places and eat things that the Dutch would say that's the worst place imaginable. Don't go there. Feel free, if you are Dutch, to drop a comment down correcting us and letting people know where to actually go for food. But as Americans, I will say that the places we went were wholly satisfying.
Yeah.
And we would recommend them to anyone from America who's traveling there and doesn't know any better like we did. Yeah. So that's probably what it's going to come off as. Now, for all of you, Dutch or not, the fundamentals of this day in Efteling, some of these are commonalities with other one-day at theme parks that we've done before. Visit during main season if you can. Winter Efteling, we've not been yet, although we do have some thoughts about when and how to do that. Main season was when we visited, and even though it was said to be very busy while we were there, it was the peak season, like July.
German schools were on summer break, so.
Do they do coffee different? Was your experience? You're a coffee drinker. I'm not.
So the difference with coffee, is that, you know, if you're going to say Disney World or whatever, and you're going to go to get a coffee, you can go get like a iced cold brew or iced mocha latte, whatever. When you're in, I think just in Europe in general, when you order a coffee, you're going to get a coffee. Also, the coffee cups are like this big, like.
Hold on. Too big.
Coffee cups are like this big. They hold maybe 6 ounces of coffee. So I think was the coffee stronger? I don't think it was particularly stronger, but you're not going to get like your hazelnut syrup and your whipped cream and all of these things on you're going to get served a hot cup of coffee.
No,
and they still have like little creamers and stuff, but it's not like you have to drink it black, but you're not going to get your Starbucks mocha choco latte yatata thing.
Yatata.
I was thinking of Moulin Rouge.
In theory, I was going to say you could make your own coffee the way you wanted it, but just by taking a bunch of different, toppings and creams. Sometimes they don't have that stuff available.
I mean, yeah, I guess you can put like Dutch sprinkles on it.
See, that's kind of what I was.
But again, like you're not going to get like you're not going to get like a cold. I mean, there's probably Starbucks somewhere in the Netherlands, maybe, but not in Efteling.
We will be here all night if we talk about everything that's different about the Netherlands or better, because a lot of stuff is. I'm not going to lie to you. But I will say that as far as food goes, while everything is good and like most things are healthier, arguably, because of the way they're prepared, and the equivalent of the FDA over in the Netherlands and in Dutch culture is far, far more protective of the people over the people that sell the food. The people eating the food get the benefits more so. I will say that breakfast is the one exception. It is decadent. Every breakfast buffet we visited has like bread and banana nut everything.
But
and
some may argue that they're trying to put out more food for travelers, American travelers, French travelers.
Oh, that's not the point I was going to make, actually. I was going to say the Dutch, because they bike everywhere, they need the carbs.
Well, yeah, they need the carbs. So eating a croissant with cheese may be their ideal thing. But I don't think that every buffet we ate was like necessarily typical of Dutch breakfast. It's just I think they want their travelers to be.
It is true that we only did, we were staying in hotels, so we only did hotel breakfasts.
I'm pretty sure someone commented on one of our videos, like a typical Dutch breakfast could be like either like a croissant or something with cheese or like yogurt with granola.
It's true. I don't know everything. I just know my experience.
And this is why this live stream is still going to be like 2 hours.
It's still going to be 2 hours long.
Oh, well.
Anyway, coffee.
Good question, though.
Coffee's different.
Good question.
All right. I think we covered visit during main season pretty well. It's compared to what you're used to or what you may be used to going to like Disney World or Universal or even like Six Flags. A busy day at Efteling is not even remotely comparable to a busy day at those parks. I'm sure it gets busier than we saw it, but during quote unquote peak season was really, really not busy at all. So if you're willing to wait out a few lines, I would say visit during main season so that all the entertainment is active, all the rides are open, everything is functioning at peak.
Hopefully.
You won't get to everything. We kind of already covered this, so we don't need to cover it twice. But this itinerary is a one-day itinerary. And it's not even really an itinerary because we're not telling you where to go and what to do. We're just giving you suggestions. There are things that you can miss without feeling like you missed out on Efteling. But there will always be something to go back to.
Yeah.
No matter how many times
we had 5 days where we were there and we still missed stuff. One, because it was closed.
Yeah.
2, like we only rode one side of Eurus because red side was closed. So sometimes that happens. So again, we're just excited to go back, see the things we didn't do the things we didn't do, and then do our favorites over again.
This day, as pitched, will be open to close. Even if you don't do everything on our list, it's worth staying until close for the water show, if nothing else, Aquanura, which happens towards the end of the park day. Also, Efteling is one of few European theme parks that is open for a pretty full day.
Yeah.
If you go to the UK, it's just thinking of Alton Towers off the top of my head.
A lot of parks have like
they'll close
10
at like
to
5
6 or 10 to 5. Like it's just, and that seems like, which I guess that means they only have to have like one shift working, which I guess makes sense. But, you know, Efteling is actually open for like 10 or 12 hours, which is nice.
I believe, and employees of Efteling may, or former employees may be able to correct me, because I know we've had a couple of those comments on our Efteling vlogs, but I believe that there are enough employees at Efteling to do a shift change midday. So people aren't on their feet for... I just checked before we started the live stream. Efteling is open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. this week. That would be a long time for one shift, but I feel like they have enough employees that they can swap people out midday instead of closing promptly at 5.
When we went, it was open from 9 to 9, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's peak season. We're in April right now.
Yeah, we're in like the spring
This is not technically peak season. So just be prepared. I would recommend getting there as early as possible and going as long as you can. If that's open to close for you, more power to you. That'll get more done. If not, just enjoy it. It's a great park. This itinerary assumes that nothing changes. We just mean that to say that this is based on the shows, the rides, the attractions, and whatnot that are current as of this time. Or coming. But we know they're coming, and we know when they're coming, so we can say that they're there in terms of this presentation.
Yes, we're not accounting for new attractions that 100%. Have not been announced.
100%, Tim. I agree. I already hit on this, but there are no bad attractions. So everything you do, no matter what, it's Efteling. It's going to be amazing. Even the slowest moving, most objectively boring to describe attractions are still fun. I'm thinking of Gondoletta. It was fun. It was
I was thinking of Carnival Festival.
Oh, Carnival Festival is fun too, but in a very different kind of fun.
Yeah, not a bad attraction.
That is the small world of Efteling.
Yeah.
So, having said all of that, let's talk about the park.
Yay!
I like the park.
I like the park too.
This is the Efteling main entrance. If you've never seen it before, it is massive. It is cool. I don't know what it's supposed to be. If anything, if it has,
it always just looked so like elven to me.
Yeah, it is. And this is Efteling is a world of fantasy and fairy tales.
Yeah.
Everything in some way, shape, or form is building up the magic, similar to how Disneyland operates, building up this immersive land that is kind of carved out. You really do feel once you, and I would argue, even in the parking lot, you feel like you have started to escape into a world of fantasy. And walking up to that big entrance as pictured here, that will really take your breath away and make you feel like, wow, this is a park. So, must-do attractions. Okay, we gotta say it right, because we've had too much time to practice this.
Drumvlucht. It's close enough.
Drumvlucht.
It's Dreamflight.
It's Dreamflight if you speak English. If you speak Dutch, and we practiced this with character actors at the park, so we should be better at it. But it's a really hard Dutch word to say. Drumvlucht.
Hard for us. Yeah.
Dromvlucht.
I don't know if spelling it
TCHT
for them will make it better.
It made it better for me.
Okay, I'm glad for you.
Drumvlucht, or Dreamflight if you prefer, is a dark ride similar to Peter Pan in the United States. It's a suspended carriage that takes you through the land of the fairies. It's incredibly immersive. There are sections and it's a long one too.
Yeah.
It lasts like
I don't know, 7 minutes or something.
It's something like 7 to 9 minutes. I would argue can be longer if you stop in the middle in the fairy tale glen, which I didn't mind at all. Actually, on our very last day, we literally got up because we were hotel guests. We were able to get into the park an hour early, and we were able to backdoor.
It was only a half hour.
Was it a half hour?
It was only half an hour.
It felt like an hour. It felt like
we did a lot in half an hour.
It felt like a huge advantage. So we stayed at the Efteling Hotel, which is at the back of the park, and that allowed us to get into the back of the park through a secret entrance, I guess half an hour before the rest of the park guests. And we did every single day. We woke up early and we went and did things. But like on the last day, when we knew we were going to have like 3 hours and then we were going to have to meet our driver and go on to the next park, we got up and we walked to the back area of the park and we did Drumflucht 3 times back to back to back.
I think so.
And then on the last one, we were planning to do one more ride after that, and we didn't get to because on the last one we got stopped and held kind of like Haunted Mansion.
And then the lights
style.
went on.
Lights went up, and we actually have some great pictures of Fairy Tale Glen, which is really hard to capture if you're moving because it moves pretty quickly. It's still a long ride.
Yeah.
There is also a slight roller coaster element at the very, very end.
You coast a little bit.
You coast. I wouldn't say it's a thrilling experience by any means, but I would say at the very, very end, it does have a very unique kind of spiral that takes you around. And it's actually very cool how the water drips down into the center. This ride has everything. If you're thinking like Peter Pan, if you're thinking of E.T., if you're thinking of, what's another good one that's comparable? Jungle Cruise?
No, I'm not thinking Jungle Cruise.
It's not a boat ride.
I think E.T. and Peter Pan are probably the closest things.
E.T. and Peter Pan combined would be a perfect blend.
Other rides I'm thinking of exist in other international theme parks, and I don't think we'd be able to draw the comparison. But yeah, you're going, well, no, but yeah, I don't think many of people on here have, or the Dutch people maybe. Anyway. Different. You're meeting fairies, you're meeting trolls, you're meeting elves, all these things. I think I watched theme park expeditions video. Expedition theme park. Sorry, all I wanted to say was Sam, and I was like, that sounds way too informal. I watched Expedition Theme Park video on it, and I believe it was like it came out in the 90s. I think it was for their park's 40. It was supposed to be for like the 40th anniversary.
I also watched that video. It was very thorough, and they just recently, at I think maybe even like a week or two before we arrived, they had just reopened from a lengthy refurb where and they didn't really change much. They just made everything smoother. They polished off all of these characters and
probably repaint some things that start to fade. All that stuff.
I don't know the specific number, but I would argue probably over 100 animatronics throughout this entire.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's got water effects.
The music's beautiful.
It's everything. It's everything to me. I love it.
Yeah. So it's
dark ride, can't be missed.
Yeah, that's we could keep talking about it, but definitely has to be on your must ride list.
It is not the only dark ride.
It's not the only dark ride.
Symbolica. So Symbolica is arguably the most high tech of all the rides we did for now, because there is another one coming that might be even more high tech. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But Symbolica is one of, I would argue, the most complex dark rides in the world. If you've been on Rise of Resistance in Disney World or Disneyland, either one, you know how complex a dark ride can be. I would argue, because I've thought about this too, this is on par with Rise of the Resistance in terms of complexity. It might not be in terms of thrill.
Definitely not.
But it is a slower moving dark ride, but it is very intricate. And the reason we say that, you could stare at that picture all day and it would never give you an accurate portrayal of what the ride does. It's inside the main castle, right? It's one of the newer attractions, even though it looks like it's been there for centuries. You walk into the main castle, you get an amazing pre-show that takes you down into the depths of the castle dungeon, where you board ride vehicles. Now, in these ride vehicles, there's 3 different colors, and you choose which color and which path you're going to go on. The dark ride could take you in one of 3 different directions.
Yeah, and so you get a slightly different experience.
The re-rideability is insane. And
Hero's Journey, Music Journey, and what was the third one?
Treasure
Journey.
Hero, Treasure, and Music.
Yeah.
You pick one of those 3, and then you jump in the car of your choice. And if you're lucky, they assign you to the front row where you actually have the ability to interact, because there is actually like a dashboard on front of the car where you tap and you play and you can interact with the dark scene rides as you're going through. Back row does not have that option.
But you get to enjoy the.
Yeah, you get to enjoy it, and I would argue that you have a better view up there too. So it kind of there's 6 different ways that you could ride this ride, and it will take a while for you to get to. We did do all 6. We did this ride a lot. Yes, we did do all 6. I have a lot of footage of.
I suppose we do.
I used like a quarter of it at most.
Yes.
Yes.
Choose your own adventure.
Symbolica also is a trackless dark ride. If you can't tell from the image, it takes you through on what seems to be a magical cart that just drives you through the castle at the pace that is, and you interact with other carts too. Like you'll pass
Heroes Tour, Music Tour.
Yeah.
I said Journey.
Well, potato.
Tour. You're getting a tour of the castle.
Led by Pardos, the jester, who actually. Tim mentioned that at the beginning that the Efteling entrance might be the jester's hat.
Like a jester hat.
Pardos is an older mascot, but he has been reimagined since the introduction of Symbolica. So now when you meet Pardos in the park as a character, he's kind of like Woody and Buzz in terms of like they just got reimagined to look more animated.
I think it's more like if you look how creepy Mickey Mouse looked like in the 50s versus now.
Take some of the creep.
Because that was how Pardos looked when I went in like 2007.
Was Symbolica not there when you went? You missed out on the best of Efteling.
Drumflucht was.
Drumflucht.
Flute. See, that's what I'm messing me up. I have to do the drum and the flute.
It's hard. It's a hard word for Americans. Anyway, Symbolica can't be missed. 6 different ways to ride. It is one of the best dark rides in the world. I haven't been to many of the European theme parks, but I can confidently say this is one of the top performers. I will also warn you, if you're like me, there is a chance you get wet on this ride. A chance.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Okay. You're supposed to get a little wet. Sometimes you get a little more wet. I think there is a chance.
You're just too sensitive.
But speaking of getting wet.
Aha!
De Vliegende Hollander.
De Vliegende Hollander. Hollander? The Flying Dutchman. I like saying De Vliegende. Hollander is where I mess up.
Yeah, but the V's are soft F's.
I don't think it's soft F. It's a soft V.
I pronounced it already. I put it through the pronunciation thing.
De Vliegende Hollander.
De Vliegende Hollander.
All right, we're not gonna just say Dutch words.
I'm trying to learn Dutch, and you are an impediment.
I'm gonna talk about the Flying Dutchman, which is a Flying Dutchman.
Dutchlish.
Flying Dutchman.
So, you may be able to tell from this photo, I deliberately chose one that's on the outside, not showing the inside with the dark ride. Because
the dark ride
that
water
should be
coaster.
A surprise. Yes, it is a full-blown water coaster. I would argue that 50% of the ride is roller coaster. The 50% that comes before the roller coaster is an incredibly unsettling dark ride.
Super fun.
It used to be, and this is where I will need Dutch historians to correct me if I'm wrong, but based on what I have read, what we experienced last year for De Vliegende Hollander is significantly nerfed from what it used to be. There used to be a water curtain that would simulate a thunderstorm or a storm at sea that was supposed to sink your ship in the dark ride scene. Then you meet the sirens and you go into the underworld, and that becomes the roller coaster. It still does that a little bit, but the new version does not have a giant water curtain. Now, what used to happen is that the giant water curtain was not timed properly. So it would shut off, but not before the front 2 rows of the boat got absolutely drenched and had to come off the ride dripping, soaking wet. While the people in the back got kind of a light sprinkle and laughed all day about the people who got soaked in the front row. Our experience with De Vliegende Hollander is much tamer, I would say, compared to that, if that was what it actually was. It is one of my favorite rides in the park. And me saying
like
that. It's a water attraction. Yeah, it's Katie's favorite. It's a water attraction. I'm not a huge fan of water attractions by nature, but it is really, really good.
It's got a gorgeous, obviously you can see the facade there. The queue is fantastic.
The music is addictive.
The music is very good
on every
in both the queue and the ride itself. And you know, it's very good. It's very well done. We don't have a lot of water coasters in the US. I think we've technically only been on one
so far.
And Journey to Atlantis and SeaWorld is like 15 feet of a water coaster.
It is
a good
thematically similar to De Vliegende Hollander. It is. There's a dark ride scene at but the thing of it is, SeaWorld, and this has become apparent to many, if Reddit is any indication, it's become apparent to many that Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld Orlando, which is what Katie's referencing, it's entering its, I think, 40th anniversary. It's an old attraction, and it's not what it used to be. And they've really not patched the holes particularly well. Yeah. It mostly is operating the same way it did with certain effects removed because they no longer function. Yeah. De Vliegende Hollander is no such. It is constantly kept up. It's maintained. It's fresh. It's new, and it operates like it opened yesterday.
Yeah, I will say there may be other like water coasters in the US, but to the scale of like the theming of this one, not a lot exist. So definitely has to be on your must-do list if you meet the height requirement and whatnot.
I will say there is one. For any who have never experienced this before, there is no POV you can watch
that will prepare you.
That will prepare you for what it feels like.
Dark ride.
It's a dark ride that gets darker, and then I'm not going to spoil it, but the roller coaster portion will take you by surprise. You will think for a split second, the first time you do it, you will think you are about to die. And then you'll be having fun.
You will think
for a split second, for the splittest of seconds, you will think you're about to die. And that's what makes it fun. Speaking of that, thinking you're about to die.
Dive coaster.
All right, I can't do this one in Dutch because I don't know my numbers well enough. Baron is the same, dive coaster is the same, but the numbers saying 1898 in Dutch. I know it octa and then octs, and then I don't know the suffix after that.
Yeah, it's like octa something. I can't remember.
It's because
1889.
1898.
1898. Did you write it down?
I did not because
I was gonna try.
I was not willing to risk it.
1898. Yeah.
Baron is most people just call it Baron. I think even the Dutch. And Baron is arguably the most fickle ride in the park. It does go down for winds and for weather because it is largely outdoors. When it is operating, which is, I would say, about 65-75% of the time, it is one of the best rides in the park. It is short.
It is short.
It is short. So if it gets to be that it has like an hour and a half wait, most people you will find will walk up and look at it and be like, nah, and walk away. And I shudder to say, but we were actually some of those people. After we'd done it once, we were like, I really want to do it again, but I'm going to try to do it early in the morning.
The thing is, we would even walk away when it was like a 45-minute wait because we were like, oh, well, we can get on 2 more rides in that time waiting for Baron. For those who are familiar with dive coasters in the US, it is only, what is it, a 6-seater across? I'm counting.
Yes, yeah. 6 seats across.
6-seater.
3 rows, 6 seats across.
Some other dive coasters have longer seats, like Griffin and Busch Gardens Williamsburg is like 10 across, I think. So it does load a little bit slower, so it does take a little bit longer. But rest assured, operations at Efteling are excellent. It's not an operations thing. It's just a lower capacity ride.
And they typically have 2 trains.
They have an excellent system though for front row. And if you decide not to wait for front row, your wait time will be shorter.
Yes.
So if you're worried about getting it in before the end of the day and you don't care, take second or third row. You'll still see all the theming. It's just we're a bit snobby when it comes to dive coaster front row
I like being in the front row, but also, I mean, you, and this is probably important to mention as well. You can do on-ride filming for most of the attractions at Efteling.
Yeah.
For roller coasters, they do insist that you have a chest harness, no wrists, no head, chest only. So if you have a chest harness for your action camera, be it GoPro or otherwise, you can take them on roller coasters. So we were trying to capture POVs, and we're like, I'm gonna wait for front row pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily always because we had to, but just because once you wait out the majority of the line and you're like, it's only another 25 for front row. That seems like a lot, but on your third day, it's more manageable than on your fifth day.
This is a good one to rope drop if you're getting in right at park opening. You can head for this one and probably not wait as long for it. You can also maybe try to catch it in the evening. I think we did it never got truly dark at Efteling when we
never
were
did
there,
a night ride on
because it was still sunny at like 9:30. That's being, north of whatever in Europe. But it probably does get less busy as people start to go home for the day, just like any other theme park. So maybe try to hit it first thing in the morning or one of the last things you do.
And the system that Katie described earlier for front row versus second or third row, second and third are loped into one pen and front row is loped into another pen. You wait out half the line regardless. Yeah. Once you get to the split, you wait out whatever line until you get to the... what do we call it? Storage?
Yeah, they have like a cubby storage.
Yep. So they will take your stuff that can't go on the coaster with you, and they will put it in like an actual locker with a lock and key on it, and then they'll give you a wristband to come back and get it on the other side.
Oh, it wasn't a locker; it was a little bracelet, and then you gave the bracelet back that matched with your cubby.
They have the lockers. We don't access the lockers. They give you the bracelet so that they can get to it. It's in our vlog. They're little wire cages.
Yeah, but I don't think they were locked. It was like a little gummy bracelet that had like 98 on it, and then you would bring back the 98 and they would go bags in 98 and then give them to you. There were lockers outside, remember? You could stick in €1 and actually put your stuff in a locker.
I would argue that there were lockers on the ride too. Someone can finalize, but
I'm pretty sure it was a little bracelet thing.
It is a little bracelet thing. You get the little bracelet regardless. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
going to go back and check it. I'm going to go back and check it later. It doesn't matter.
Once you get to that point, they give you a bracelet, leave your stuff behind. They ask you whether you're front row or second or third row, and you take a ticket. You take that ticket that says front row or second or third row, and you go through pre-show. Pre-show is incredibly well themed. It is the same pre-show for everyone. You're all in the same room. You get into the post-pre-show. There's an animatronic. There's more theming elements. There's story elements that help tell the story of the ride and build up the anticipation. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to the ride platform, then and only then do you hand your ticket to someone. As Katie said, no matter whether you're the front row or the second row or the third row, you will still get the dark ride show scene. You'll still be able to see everything. It's only if you want a clear view directly down into the pit before you drop, which is part of the thrill for us and why we like doing it. But if you want that view, you need front row, which sometimes is 25 to 30 minutes longer wait. It's worth it at least once. It might not be worth it on this one day you have in Efteling. Having said that, amazing ride no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I think we would definitely do it again, but again, we would recommend hitting it early.
Fabulous themed ride.
Fata Morgana.
Fata Morgana.
You won't see any of the actual ride in this photo, but that was by design. It is the best way to describe it, and I've actually had this explained to me several times in comments since posting our vlog. There's not a single technical animatronic in the ride. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of motorized, automated robots that move up and down based on, and I always thought that was an animatronic, but apparently what Disney has built in animatronics is different. It's a whole different system. These are largely self-operating. Some things tripped by lasers, some things tripped by motion sensors. They're all going to go off no matter what. No one's programming them. They're just doing their own thing, which is pretty cool. I wonder
if it's the difference between like auto animatronic versus auto.
I think it's audio animatronic is the term that Disney coined.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
I'm not an engineer of any kind.
I don't know what else to call them, so I call them animatronics.
That's what I did in our vlog, and then I was told that's not accurate. But regardless, a marvel of engineering throughout. This ride, based on the history that I went through and that I did some Google homework on, which could be flawed, appears to have been largely inspired by visits to the Disney parks and to the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. You will see a lot of similarities between this and Pirates of the Caribbean, regardless of what Disney park you go to.
Mm-hmm.
However, this attraction is longer. I'm inclined to say it's better because it has a much more impressive finale than any of the Pirates rides I'm aware of, apart from Shanghai, which is a completely different type of ride. So it is a must-do. It will take you a little while, but it is also a constant, like, you board on a moving platform. So it's not going to stop and load the way Pirates will. It has a very high capacity, and the line moves quick.
The line moves pretty quick. Boats are pretty big. They will fill them up, but if there's not a lot of people, sometimes you get your own boat. There is a photo on the ride, too.
There's a photo on every ride we've discussed so far.
Well, I think the photo, you kind of don't realize it's happening until it happens, and that's where you end up with the photo.
That's also true of every other ride we've discussed. They hide the cameras pretty well. You have to do the rides a couple of times.
But there's sights, there's smells. It reminds me of Pirates. It reminds me of parts of Spaceship Earth. Very, very fun. Another great ride soundtrack. Classic effects, Pepper's Ghost, that kind of thing.
It will take you on a journey, and you will as every ride that we went on in Efteling was like a story unto itself, and we felt like we were part of everything, similar to the immersion that you would get in a Disney theme park, but not really comparable to any other park in the United States, to my knowledge. Even Universal, I think, is not as strong with that kind of immersion.
It's very, I think Efteling. What's interesting about Efteling is there's different lands. Even like on the map, they talk about different lands. And certainly there can be different, the Flying Dutchman compared to like Carnival Festival, very different vibes, different things. But I do think there is kind of
synergy.
There's a synergy. That's a great word. There's a synergy in Efteling that I don't think some parks we've been to, at least in the U.S., capture. And it's all done on just fan, like no IPs other than like
everything
the
is
characters that are original to the park and fairy tales.
Yes, but the fairy tales are not owned by anyone.
No. But they're Grimm's fairy tales or whatever. Yes. There's Sleeping Beauty. There's Little Red Riding Hood. All of these.
Yes, and that I will be perfectly honest. We don't, by any stretch of the imagination, hate Disney. We love going to Disney. We have our gripes every once in a while, but for the most part, we are Disney people through and through. I will say Disney has lost something in leaning so hard into their IPs, their movie characters, and their animated characters, because when we were kids and we went to Disney World, it used to be that things like Body Wars and Journey into Imagination and even Test Track, the first iteration, Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, those were all things that people came up with for the park, for specifically the experience you were going to have in the park, and not the experience that translates into what you've seen or what you will see in the movies. The Haunted
Mansion was the park. It long before it was a multiple movies.
Yeah, and 3 movies now.
Yeah, so
and a really cool screensaver on Disney Plus.
That is a cool screensaver. But so I think that's, and because even though Efteling has changed, some rides have gone, things have replaced other things. I think that they don't lose that synergy, and they don't lose the heart of the park, I think.
Efteling remains to this day more magical than arguably any other park in the world because of how original it is. It is based on, there are some areas based on fairy tales, like you said, but they're not spun in such a way as to build intellectual property out of them. They're spun specifically so that you can feel like you're part of the story.
Yep.
And that's what makes Efteling special. I think it's ironic that you mentioned Haunted Mansion as your last thought.
I guess it is ironic.
So this is all we have on this one right now, because as of yet, none of us have ridden it. None of our Dutch friends have ridden it. This is Danse Macabre concept art for a new ride that will be opening this year at Efteling. It has been in development for a long time, apparently much longer than we knew about it being in development. It is kind of built into or on top of the remains of a previous...
I call it the spiritual successor to Spookslot.
Yes,
right?
Spookslot. Yep. So that was originally a Haunted Mansion style attraction that...
It was a walkthrough.
It was a walkthrough, and it had kind of a Pepper's Ghost finale. So it was unique, and it was cool, and it was creepy, and you know how we love our spooky stuff. But it was not a ride. Now it will be. This attraction is opening I think this summer. I could be wrong about that, but last I saw sometime this summer.
Is it 2024?
2024, yes, but I wasn't sure about what season, how soon it was opening. It is. I'm following Efteling's page. I'm looking at their reels every single day, and they keep reporting new progress on Danse Macabre. The queue theming looks immaculate, which is to be expected. What this ride is supposed to be is a first of its kind flat ride where the entire floor rises up, tilts all around like a top about to fall down, while each of these pews rotates on its own axis within that top. It's probably going to make me sick, but I have to do it because it's so cool. It's supposed to be like a church. You walk into like this sanctuary area, so you might be able to see. It's going to be a massive, big round room that looks like an actual cathedral. And then it's going to go just absolutely bonkers and make you lose your lunch. And,
I mean, dance means dance, right?
Yes.
So it's like macabre dance, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, tilt-a-whirl on a massive scale. Yeah. With the added dynamic of, bouncing back and forth and riding up in ways that the traditional tilt-a-whirl couldn't do.
Now, all of their advertisement seems to use the Spookslot music, so we wonder if they're going to reuse that soundtrack.
I'm almost positive they've taken
that. Would be great because it's great. It's great music. So that will be. I'm sure it's going to have great theming, great music, just like other Efteling rides. So, yeah, I think will it be the best ride in the park? I don't think so, but I think it's unique enough that you would have to check it out, and we definitely want to.
I'm gonna do it once, and if I really, really like it, I'll do it again. That's usually my rule of thumb. But I am absolutely confident that even if this ride because we don't usually handle flat rides as well as the average person. We're not big on spinny things. But if this turns out to be as fun a themed experience as I'm expecting it to be, it's worth getting a little bit sick.
I think probably, yeah.
And it's also supposedly is going to leverage some of the original Pepper's Ghost effects too.
Oh, neat.
So it will be a presentation as much as it will be an attraction.
Yeah.
So that's one we would recommend for sure trying this year and onwards. Now we're into the Fairy Tale Forest. And the thing about the Fairy Tale Forest is we did it backwards. Twice.
There's multiple entrances.
There are multiple entrances, but I have been informed several times since posting that vlog that there is a primary entrance we did not find.
Yes.
So Fairy Tale Forest, you can spend all day, many days probably, in Fairy Tale Forest. Let me get the live graphic off so you can see the Chinese nightingale. It is a series of, and actually, let's get us off of there too.
Yeah, and you see,
got to see the fairy tale tree.
Fairy tale tree. That's it.
A series of fairy tales manifested as different vignettes, moving scenes. Almost everything has some kind of interaction or presentation or something that you can see in motion. We've highlighted some of the ones that we think you absolutely cannot miss. From left to right, top to bottom. The Six Servants, aka Long Neck. He is iconic, and he must be photographed. If you see him, you have to take a picture. It's a rule. During Winter Efteling, he gets a little scarf and a hat, too.
It's adorable.
The Indian Water Lilies, which is Indische Waterlilies, which is, I believe we got that right. which is one of the iconic soundtracks from the park. If you've never heard it before and you go and look up Indische Water Lilies, you will have a jam party for the rest of the evening.
So if you walk up on the water lilies and nothing's happening, just wait like 2 minutes. Don't be like, that's cute, and then walk out.
Yeah, there are show scenes.
There's show scenes. You just have to wait for it to reset.
It usually resets within, I would say,
I think it's like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a very short long time.
And it takes a while to get into the actual water lilies part of the show, but it's worth it.
You gotta watch it.
Chinese Nightingale is a horrific looking projection show using Pepper's ghosts and other effects combined with the animatronics, or I guess motorized robotics within the scene. I would be lying if I told you that I understood any of the dialect that went on. I couldn't tell if it was like just Dutch with a Chinese accent or if it was actually Chinese, but it was very difficult.
The voice acting was good.
It was very good. It was very convincing.
But it was in Dutch. I think a lot of the vignettes do have like, if you see like a little storybook, I think they have an English translation of them.
But that doesn't carry over to what they're actually.
No,
they do,
but
like,
it may give you like
there's audio coming out of their.
It may give you like the context, but we didn't really know that. I think this was the first one we stumbled upon, and we were like, "Well, that was creepy and amazing."
It was really, really cool.
It was super cool.
Bottom left is the fairy tale tree.
Yes, another kind of famous icon from Efteling. There's a lot of different icon figures from Efteling. Long Neck is definitely one of them, but the fairy tale tree also.
I can't help but refer to him as the Great Deku Tree.
The tree is bigger. You think it's gonna be so big, and then you walk up on it, and it's like that.
It's a full size.
It is a big tree.
It is a actual tree that you would stumble on into the forest. It's just got a face on it, and the face tells stories, and people gather around.
And they have little toadstools that like kids can sit on and listen to the little tree.
It's really cute. Sleeping Beauty is the center, and we didn't actually include photos of Sleeping Beauty's castle because we didn't think that the images did the scale justice.
But the scale of Sleeping, like that vignette is, I think, the biggest one.
Sleeping Beauty's castle, 100%.
Yeah.
You actually walk through a full-size castle to see the story of Sleeping Beauty. It's not like the Disneyland castle that's like microscopic by comparison.
Well, it's also like full-size people, animatronics, whatever they're called, in there, and like outside of the castle you see like slumped over sleeping soldiers,
which
under
is
the
who
curves.
we have pictured. So there's a bunch of sleeping people around the castle, and once you see them or start seeing them, you know you're getting close to one of the best scenes.
You can hear them snoring. It's funny. And then bottom right
the
is
gardener and the fakir.
The gardener and the fakir, which is another famous one. Kind of fun effect, Looks very magical.
When we describe it to you, we would typically say it's a magic carpet that goes back and forth. And that's a stupid way to describe it because it really doesn't do justice to the magic of the illusion.
Yeah.
But the actual illusion, it's very convincing. You think there is, I stared at
it for a while and I was like, I don't see any wires.
I don't know how it happens. I truly don't know how it happens.
Like after watching it, I was just like, it's magic. I'm moving on.
It is magic. It is literally magic. It's a vignette like any other that repeats itself after a couple of minutes. So if you miss it the first time, stay put. You'll see it. Don't worry about it. But a lot of the vignettes are like that. They have little like interactions or little tricks that you see a fairy tale come to life in front of you in a way that it's not incredibly sophisticated, and yet it's somehow so magical.
So magical. So cool.
That's what makes fairy tale forest.
And some of the scales of some of the characters, like Long Neck is just, he's so big.
Oh yeah, and the sleeping giant, which became the thumbnail for our
that guy.
Force perspective is also a thing in Efteling. So they do a really good job of making you feel small if you're supposed to be staring down a giant.
Yeah.
And that applies to other attractions as well.
I think we said in our vlogs, the fairy tale forest could cover at least half of a day if you did all of it. So if you only have a day, you have to check out at least a few of them.
These are the 6 that are most iconic to us, but there are
many
dozens more.
if you've got a favorite fairy tale, your kid has a favorite fairy tale, there's probably
Rapunzel,
Hansel and Gretel,
the Troll Fort, the Troll King.
I think
Toadstool Village.
Yeah. Lots of different fairy tales in there. You'll walk past a lot of them on your way to find these, so you'll still see more. But yeah, you may not have time for all of them if you want to get more rides done.
You may just want to poke your head into Fairy Tale Forest, walk until you check your watch and say, we're getting close to too long in here, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And that's okay because there will be more to come back to.
Yep. Also, mentally, I am sitting in front of Long Neck eating a stroopwafel.
All the time.
All the time.
So this is one that we did not do and wish we had.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like this is something that you may regret not doing later, but in the moment is one of the easier things to skip. Reveline is a show, which can also be a dinner show. We'll get to that a little bit later. It is, I would say, a more intricate, more sophisticated medieval times.
Yeah.
It is not gonna...
Stunts, horses, other, trained acts and stuff like that. From what we've seen of video, sword play stunts.
This is one of the other dragons I was referencing too. They have a giant metal
like
dragon
Hydra.
animatronic. Yeah, Hydra is probably
like multiple heads, but I would say it's in the dragon family.
We have seen a lot of footage from this show. You do have to make reservations in advance for the dinner portion. So when we arrived at the Efteling Hotel and we asked, how do we make reservations? It was a misunderstanding that we had where we didn't understand that the dinner show was all we had to reserve. Raveline, we could have just walked in and experienced in the park. So we assumed that because we weren't able to make a reservation for dinner, we weren't able to experience the show, and we just skipped it every time.
Yep.
Could have walked in anytime during those 3 to 5 days. Didn't, thinking that we were going to be turned away. So just know that it's open to everyone. It is something that I think if you have more than one day, you definitely want to do. If you have only one day, this is a coin toss.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're into shows more than rides, this is probably a must-do.
Yeah.
And they really do a great job with the effects and whatnot, and the acting as well.
And the sets are pretty to look at. Obviously, you can kind of see some of it behind you. So.
And if you don't see these characters in the show, you may well see them wandering around the park. They do roaming characters the same way that Disney does.
Yep.
Play areas. I'll take the live thing off. So there are many play areas throughout Efteling, and they are not exclusive to children, although I'm sure they don't want adults taking over the playgrounds and running rampant. Fortunately, we're just 2 childish adults, and we don't make up much of the demographic there. So we were able to get in and out of the play areas in a couple of minutes just exploring. But it's worth exploring because there's cool things happening in any of these play areas.
Yep.
The 2 pictured here are on the left is Archipel, and on the right, I may have written this down wrong. Boek van Laaf is what I have. I have seen Van with a V. I have seen elsewhere a different name for the village of the school children.
I remember Van Laaf though. That sounds right.
I'm looking it up in the Efteling app right now, just to be absolutely certain.
To be absolutely sure.
But
so Archipel is near the Vogelrock ride. It's towards the back of the park. Mm-hmm. Normally that is filled with water. I guess the picture that you found didn't, but that's normally like filled with water, and it's kind of like a
little bit of water, but that was under construction.
I don't think I think that's dry because it's got like bags over things.
Nonsense.
Anyway, picture wherever the blue matting is that's water. So it's pretty fun. It's definitely a nice place to, we saw a lot of patrons of the park just like taking their shoes off and like dipping their feet in. It was July, it could get warm.
Volk van Laaf.
Volk van Laaf.
Or
what did you
Volk.
What did you write? Boek van Laaf.
Boek van Laaf. I don't know how I got book.
I don't know how you got book either. Book isn't even
Volk van Laaf is the actual name of the area.
Well, anyway.
Unusual Efteling inhabitants.
Anyway, I'll finish about Archipel first. You can play around in the water. You can get as wet as you want. You can also challenge yourself and try to stay dry. We were running around on like little rocks trying not to get wet, and you can go into the little I don't know, villas, cabins. What would you call that? Cabanas, and hide out there, little huts. And you get to listen to the soundtrack from Sirocco, which is fun while you listen.
I mean, I won't lie to you. We spent more time in these play areas than we had any right to as full-grown adults. But it truly, it's like any play area at any theme park. You know, the more immersive and themed it is, and the more nooks and crannies you discover, the more you discover your inner child. So we spent a lot of time doing like slides and balance beams.
Yeah, Folk Fun Laugh is definitely like a dry playground. So there's slides. We did like a teeter totter.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
There are areas of that particular play area that also have like, you know, you can hop stones across a river and whatnot. So you can get wet, and
if you're determined to. There's little vignettes you can see, children in school, a baker, all the little. It's a little village.
And in Folk Fun Laugh, or Folk, keep forgetting the V is a soft F. In Folk Fun Laugh, you also have the mono snail.
Yes, the mono snail.
You do not have any rides in Archipel, but you do have the mono snail.
Unless you count Sirocco as a ride in Archipel.
It's adjacent. We may or may not have been listening to the Efteling soundtrack for several days before this.
Try several months.
Over a year. So those are 2 play areas. There are more. There's one near Carnival Festival.
If you don't have time to play, at least walk by or walk through Folk Fun Laugh. It's very cute. And the landscaping is beautiful.
It's a great place to just and most of these are just great places to just kind of chill out for a little bit too. If you just need to take a break, you drink some water, grab a snack and eat it somewhere, any of these places will do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as the sun sets, we're looking at
sort of sets.
Depending on the time of year.
It never got that dark.
It is true that we have been recommending going during main season, which may put you at a position where you're not seeing this at its full scale.
Yeah.
If you go during the winter time, you will see this much clearer after dark. But I would argue this is Aquanura.
Yeah.
And Aquanura is a great show. The Winter Efteling is what I'm calling it for the heck of it. During the winter season, Aquanura has a kind of dance remix, which is very, very cool, and that's what this is. Aquanura during the summer season there are highlights in our day 1 vlog because we did watch it. It honestly was nowhere near as difficult to get a spot as we thought it was going to be. We had a great view, and it is a musical masterpiece, if nothing else.
It's all the ride music from the rides and shows and stuff that you've been watching or seeing throughout the day in a beautiful water and light show. It's a very nice way to wrap up your day. We really enjoyed it. Now
it's very World of Color.
Yeah.
Now, you won't be able to see those colors as well during the summer season, but you can see a little bit of them.
They start Aquanura shows at like 5 or something, or 6 o'clock. They go for several hours, like I don't know if it's every hour or every half an hour. Because I remember it scared us the first time because we were riding Max and Moritz and we heard like the crack of water jets and thought it was thunder. And we were like, no. Yep. And then we looked over and we started feeling like mist and we were like, what is this? And then we looked and it was Aquanura.
And then we heard dun 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 dun, dun. And we knew it wasn't.
And then so we were like, oh, we're gonna wait till the last one till 9 o'clock so that it gets darker. It got like 2% darker.
By the time, I mean, you can see in our footage, like it's a longer show.
Yeah.
So the show starts, it's a bit brighter. By the time the show ends, you can see the tinted, the faintest tint of color. Faintest. You can see a little bit of color in there. Yeah. It's just not going to look quite like this.
Yeah.
But if you go during the wintertime, which we wouldn't argue against, you can absolutely see it this way. However, I have a feeling that it's far more popular to see the show
probably
during
the fire effects, because yes, there are also fire effects, are any season.
Yeah.
Very powerful. You'll still get warm. You'll still see them. It's just the dynamic of the colors that is a little bit hard to see. You should still see it. It's like watching if you still stop by the Bellagio and watch a fountain show during the day, then why not?
Well, you're gonna hate me for making this comparison, but if you let me get all the way to the end, I think the most apt comparison to United States fountain show would be the one at the island in Pigeon Forge. Because it's fun to watch during the day, and it still does the dancing fountain and everything, and you can see all of the cool architectural, the builds of the water and how they interact with one another. But it's much, much cooler to see after dark. It's a whole different vibe. I'm not gonna let you open your mouth and trash my opinion.
It's not trash. I just don't. I would agree with the whole watching it at day versus watching it at night. But the closest comparison, it's got a way bigger scale than the fountain at Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, I'm comparing vibes. I'm giving them a reason to see it during the day.
I think. How about comparing watching the Bellagio during the day versus night? That's the scale of the type of water show we're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't think the Bellagio was that impressive, to be honest with you.
It's because
all it does is go up. It goes up higher, and then it stops.
Yeah. I would have said I would think it has more of a comparison to World of Color, but.
Except during the day, World of Color is useless.
Well, they don't show World of Color during the day.
That's kind of why I went with the island.
Be useless.
That's kind of why I went with the island.
Whatever.
Where to get your park food? So these, I know.
Those are pictures you took, right?
Those are pictures I took. Yeah, these are my pictures.
My meals.
So this is where I think any of the Dutch who are watching the replay are gonna criticize our. And I could be wrong. But I'm opening myself up to criticism by showing you these pictures and telling you about these places. First of all, on the left picture, we have Sausijnbroodje.
Sausijnbroodje.
That's one we had to learn after getting it wrong like 100 times and being corrected.
We saw the word spelled out, and you were like, I cannot say that word.
It was so long.
And then lots of people put phonetic pronunciations in the comments, and I was like, oh, that what? It's kind of like. You just commit to like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. If you just commit to it, you can get it out.
Sausijnbroodje. It roughly translates to sausage roll, which is what it is, and it's delicious. We also got like soup and salads and grains, and on the right, completely different place, completely different type of food. That was the kebab. Which, oh my god,
it was
so good.
So good.
There are consequences for eating the kebabs late in the day, but it is worth the consequences 9 times out of 10. So both of these meals that we got, at least in these pictures, they came from quick service restaurants, takeaway places where they had a bunch of areas where you could sit. The left platter, the left came from the Cashba restaurant. On the right came from Station de Oost. Or Oost would be the Oost.
It was the train station.
Train station near the dumb train. Both are areas where you can get something from a counter and take it to a table. There are areas of the park that we ate in which were kind of more buffet style as well. Hopefully I can pronounce it correctly. Hitweetpaard, which would be near the Mono Snail Village. That was where we ate on the very first day, when they had cute little tables that looked like bookshelves.
Yeah, and we got it was not like serve yourself buffet, but they had food you would put on the plate for you.
Yes,
right?
You would ask them for what they wanted, and it was cafeteria style. It was more.
I was it was more like
less buffet and more cafeteria.
Although Casbah restaurant was kind of more like self-serve cafeteria, I think.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
they're blending together.
Buffet is probably the wrong word because you don't pay one price and get to eat as much as you want.
Yeah,
you buy what you want from.
I got a beef
spots.
stew with vegetables. It was so good.
Yeah, I think the only buffet is actually Ravelins.
Ravelin.
Dinners, or it might be family style, or what passes for family style. We didn't do it, so we don't know. But we do know that these places were all delicious everywhere we ate. The only other one that we didn't eat at, I'm going to totally fail at pronouncing this, Pardo's Pancake House, which is just outside of Symbolica. Poliskuken is what I read. I hope that's right. If not,
it's probably totally wrong.
It's probably totally wrong. It looked really, really good, and I actually have a picture from the interior.
Yeah, the inside looks so cute.
It's theme dining, so this is a much more thematic experience.
Like the pastries and pancakes in the big oven in the middle.
It's pancakes and crepes, savory and sweet. So it's a great place to come if you want to have like breakfast early in the park day, especially if you're getting in a little bit earlier. I think you'll have first crack at it. However, having said that, reservations are required for this one, which is why we didn't make it in. It's not that we didn't want to or that we didn't think, and we probably could have made a reservation later in the trip if we figured it out sooner, but we were distracted by rides and whatnot, and we just didn't.
Well, it's like every time we walk past Symbolica, Tim's like, let's go ride it.
I think we did Symbolica 7 times total. Maybe 8.
And then really sometimes it was like the park's going to close soon. We just got to grab something to eat.
And then I was like, and maybe we can squeeze in a ride on Symbolica.
I'm pretty sure we would like go do Symbolica, walk away, come back and be like, hey, you know what we could do now?
Symbolica. We had at the very tail end of our trip, we had like maybe 40 minutes before we had tickets to the Caro show, which we'll talk about at the very end.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, Symbolica is posted a 20-minute wait. I bet we can do it. And it was, to my credit, it was a 20-minute wait. They were right on the money. But the thing of it is, you forget that it's like an 18-minute ride.
It's like a 12-minute ride.
So you get on Symbolica and we're going through it, and Katie's like, we're going to be late.
And we had to get out of Symbolica. Thankfully, it's not that far, but
it's not that far, but it's further than I thought it was. It's further than it felt like it was going to be.
Run to get to the Caro show.
We made it to Caro.
And it had started raining. Mm-hmm. So we had to run.
And you had to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Which was not my fault.
And we had to run in the rain.
It was worth it. It was worth it to do Symbolica for the 8th time. All right, now if you want more thematic character dining, there are 2 places. Well, maybe not both of these as character dining, but more thematic dining. This is the Raveline restaurant, which, if I'm pronouncing it right, Hit Wappen. It's not Wappen.
Hit Wappen.
Hit Wappen von Raveline.
Hit Wappen von Raveline.
Which sounds right, but is probably wrong. This also does. This is the one that we couldn't.
Wappen means.
No, neither do I.
The something of Raveline, right?
Yeah. Let's find out.
We're learning Dutch.
We're learning Dutch on the fly.
What is Wappen? The restaurant of Raveline?
The weapon. The weapon of Raveline.
The weapon of Raveline is the name of the restaurant.
Wapen.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Okay.
I just wanted to verify. The Wapen of Raveline.
Het Wapen.
Het Wapen van Raveline. Yeah. So this is the place we couldn't get into. It's very, very popular, and they did tell us when we checked in, like, if you want to dine there, you should make reservations as early as you can. We could have done it beforehand, before we got there, if we'd known better, but we're learning as we go at this point. So it looks to be and sounds like it is a family-style meal, which is not buffet style, but it does include, obviously, from the image, characters, which is something that we got, I think, only at breakfast when we had breakfast at the Efteling Hotel. So highly recommend that if you want to do this, if you're interested in this. Now, it is expensive. I did look up what the prices were, and it was almost as much as a day ticket to Efteling to do this.
Darn!
It's like 35 euros per person.
Sorry, I forgot how cheap a day ticket to Efteling.
Yeah, it's 40 to go to Efteling for a day.
I was like, it's probably 110 euros a person.
No, it's still going to wind up being fairly expensive and once you convert it to dollars and cents.
I know, but
it's not Disney dining.
It's not Disney character dining.
Point is, if you want to do this one, I would jump on it as early as you can. It looks like it's super fun, and we are going to, I think, try to do it next time.
Yeah, I think so.
We know better now. We know how to do it. Now, if you don't want to pay for character dining and you just want a quick service alternative that is equally as thematic and fun, another play area, and by far my favorite play area, can be found in the Fabula restaurant.
Fabula.
This, I can barely call this a restaurant. It's more like a play area that serves food.
Yeah.
Like it's got slides. It's got like it's the exit area for the 4D movie attraction, which is one of the newer attractions. And honestly, you can skip the 4D movie attraction and just walk in here to do the playground, which is exactly what we did. We did do the 4D movie.
We eventually went back, but
it was worth it to come in here and do this as its own thing. You can easily spend over an hour in here just playing around. Slides, projections. Yes, Dutch Chuck E. Cheese. I would say it's on a whole other level than Chuck E. Cheese, but the vibe is right.
Yeah, and you can like look at through little windows.
You learn stuff too.
Things.
It's like an educational experience.
Yeah.
They teach you about like how fast a snake strikes and like how many fish would fit in a submarine, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's obviously intended for a younger audience, but we were fascinated. And the slides were super fun.
And if you catch it before a Fabula show lets out, it's a lot less busy, and you'll look way less creepy.
Because Fabula, instead of exiting into a gift shop, will exit into this area where you then get food. Now, food-wise, there is a bar where you as an adult, you can get alcohol if you want to. We didn't because we were just interested in food.
And they also have like coffee shop if you
coffee
need to
shop, juice,
hot cocoa,
sandwiches, and different. And it's international cuisine is what it's billed as,
right?
And it is. I would say there's a lot of variety in there. We got sandwiches and salads, and you got like pasta.
I got like a pasta with a bread thing, and I don't know, it was good.
If you're interested, this is all in our day 2 vlog. If you want to go back and look for Efteling day 2 in our recent videos, and we'll try to link them all our Efteling vlogs in the comments below too. But it is a difficult experience to describe. It is a very thematic environment that is very fun to play in. And this picture by no means does it justice. It is a massive play area with all kinds of.
There's a whole like iceberg with a slide.
Yep. You can also climb to the top of a tree, which has like an active waterfall running down it, and that's all I need to say about that.
Yeah. Oh, and like is this the one where you can go up and eat? Do you remember there was like an elevated
there's like
area.
Party dining.
Yeah.
You have to book that in advance for special occasions.
I didn't think you had to book it. It was just stairs.
It was roped off.
Oh, okay.
Don't you remember?
No.
We tried to go up there. It was roped off.
Oh well.
Next time.
Ah.
Snack-wise, you can also get stuff all over the park. The best place to get snacks, in our humble American opinion, which may... Yes! Hold on. Immersive as a Rainforest Cafe is accurate.
Yeah.
But arguably more interactive.
Yeah. And less hokey?
Hey! I like the Rainforest
I didn't
Cafe.
say you couldn't like it. I just said it's a little touch of hokey.
Strike 2. Okay. Hogelog. This is where you will find your stroopwafel bakery. Stroopwafel. This is where Katie got hers, and it's right next to the
They're
long,
like
the 6
this
servants.
big. They're like 6 inches or something. I don't know how many inches that is, but it's like a stroopwafel as big as my head. They're made fresh there. You can smell them. If you've ever walked into like a ice cream shop and smelled them making the waffle cones, that's kind of what it smells like, but add like a honey syrup to that as well. Heavenly. You can pick a dipped one or a non-dipped one. I of course always got a dipped one because why not add more sprinkles? I'm trying to remember what sprinkles is in Dutch. I cannot remember.
It's too late.
It's too late. It's gone. Dipped chocolate with sprinkles. And that's what I meant when I was like just sitting there eating one of these stroopwafels, watching long necks head go up, then back down.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
It was a vibe.
It was beautiful.
When you have more time, if you're going to spend more than one day in Efteling, it is worth just chilling for a little bit and taking it all
and just
in.
Listening.
But, you know, on the basis of only having one day in Efteling, this is what we would recommend. You can also get, as I did twice, at least, hot food from vending machines, all of which are credit card accessible. And if you have a credit card that does not have an international change fee, which is what we use constantly for me, this is a very quick in and out, and you can get Sausage-Ambrosion, hot, piping hot, right out of these machines. And they're all over the place. This one was near Max and Moritz for us, but
there's a couple more.
There's a couple more. Yeah. Most anywhere where you have that cafeteria style dining, you will find these somewhere nearby.
This is one of like my first time I was there in 2007. This is one of my clear memories, was getting something out of one of these little vending machines.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. Like, they're not an American thing. But
yeah.
They do keep the food relatively fresh.
Yeah. And they're self-serve, so you can get yourself a snack and move
on.
You
can pick the one that looks the freshest.
You got a Sausage-Ambrosion, but you also got like a little like it was like stroganoff sausage thing. Do you remember? It was like very like creamy on the inside.
Yeah.
It was good. I don't know what it was.
Good stuff comes from those things.
Yeah.
Last but not least, shopping venues. I only have one picture because people don't take pictures of shopping venues very often, apparently, for Google. This is Efteling, which I mortifyingly wrongly pronounced for our actual vlog. Yes. I said Efteling, which in my head made perfect sense, but it's Efteling. So this is the main shop, and this is where you'll find a little bit of everything, including but not limited to pins, t-shirts, the fairy tale tree condensed into an actual potted plant you can take home.
I wanted it so badly.
Bracelets, jewelry,
cans of stroopwafel with long neck's face on them.
Shoes.
Actually, my can's right over there.
Too late. It take too long to get it down. You can't reach. Yeah, they have a little bit of everything in this shop. And this is right at the front of the park, which for many is also going to be their exit if you're not staying at one of the hotels and exiting through the back. So you'll have the beginning of the day and the end of the day to clear this area. There are shops all over the actual park as well. The second best shop that we found was in den Oude Marschkramer, which is near the Fairy Tale Forest and the Steam Carousel, which off the top of my head, I don't remember how to pronounce in Dutch.
Stroom Carousel or something?
Maybe.
Stroom Carousel?
I'm probably making it too hard on myself. But in that area, you will actually find Efteling Christmas Village pieces. So I desperately wanted to take one of those home, but then my thought was, and this is just my OCD speaking, if I take one home, I have to take home all of them. And I couldn't fit all of them in my suitcase, so there was no point.
Have you seen our Halloween village?
No one has. You will this year. It was a secret.
They also had it was also some other cool displays, like big book things and stuff in that one, right? It was cool. It was a nice little shop to walk around.
There are gift shops as well, exiting Symbolica and Drumflucht. So there's a couple different areas of the park where you can do like ride and attraction specific shopping. Also, Fata Morgana had one as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of those are, very ride specific in terms of merch, more akin to what you would see leaving a Disney ride, where you have like, if you just got off Peter Pan, then what you see is child-sized Peter Pan jammies. So not going to be widely versatile for all ages. But Efteling, I think, is where you want to go if you just want to take home a souvenir of your very own as an adult or a day visitor who's just had a great day at the park. If you have any leftover time, and you won't, but if you had any leftover time, we would recommend checking out as well Villa Volta, which is a madhouse, the first of its kind, if I'm correct in knowing my Efteling history, which I probably am not. But as far as I know, this was the first Vekoma madhouse ever to be constructed. It is an older attraction. It has a long pre-show, but it is super cool. If you've never done a Vekoma madhouse before, it's difficult to describe in a way that will make it sound compelling. So just do it. It will make you question physics. Is what it will make you do.
Fantastic soundtrack for this ride as well. Mm-hmm. It does have a long pre-show and it's all in Dutch, so you might get a little bit like, if you don't speak that language, you might lose a little bit of the story, but
might nod off a little.
You can, I would find, like, I'm sure there's people who've translated it, or you can find translations, and then you can kind of know what's going on. But yeah, the room moves, it tilts, it plays with your mind. We did not feel sick after doing it, but it was one of those ones
I could see how people would.
I could see how people would feel sick, and also it's not one of the rides we'd be like, let's do that again right now.
Well, here's the thing, because it's one room, right? That's the entire ride, and that same room is servicing everyone. There are not multiple theaters. So this is a ride that has a relatively low capacity and a very long pre-show, which means no matter when you do it, it will have a long line. Yeah. That is an unfortunate component of Villa Volta, and is also as cool and well themed as it is not the only Vekoma Madhouse in Europe by any means. It is much more popular as an attraction type over there than it is here in the United States. So the reason I'm saying it's not on our must-do list outright is because it's not unique to the continents in any way, shape, or form. And it will eat a lot more of your time than I think it's probably worth. But if you have multiple days, absolutely do it.
Yeah. Vogelrok.
This ride, for whatever reason, gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people really like it, and a lot more vocal people dislike it. It is Efteling's version of Space Mountain, for lack of a better explanation. Another great soundtrack, yes. They're there.
I can't see the giant bird without thinking of the soundtrack.
This one is special to us because we entered the park from the back, which meant this was our first ever international coaster credit.
Yep.
It was terrifying the first time because you can't see much of anything until your eyes adjust, and your eyes don't adjust till near the end of the ride. It was super duper fun though. Yeah. And it became more and more fun every time we rode it. Once we started to anticipate, like, here's where it ducks and bends and whatnot. Really, really fun.
You can at least walk by and appreciate the gigantic prehistoric bird thing.
I would say Vekoma Madhouse.
You're not ready for how big that bird is. What is this one? What messes with the mind?
More twisting tunnels at haunts or Vekoma Madhouse? I would say the Vekoma Madhouse.
Yeah.
Haunts can be disorienting for different reasons, mostly because people are screaming at you. But
yeah, it depends on how many strobe lights. That one strobe room at the paranormal. Ooh, but
it's true.
Vekoma Madhouse is pretty disorienting.
Vogelrok also somewhat disorienting.
Yeah,
but for a different reason.
Caro
is an add-on experience. It will cost an additional fee if you want to do it, but it does happen after the park closes. Or very close to park closing, if not at park closing.
It's a show at the Efteling, the Efteling Theater, which is outside of the park. So technically, you don't have to. I don't think you. Do you have to enter the park?
You're incorrect. It is inside the park. It is directly adjacent to the Aquanura pond.
Okay.
It is actually going to be directly adjacent the Efteling Grand Hotel that's being built.
Oh, okay.
But it is a really, really, really cool show. And it's been going for a long time in several iterations. And the current iteration that we saw last year was spectacular.
Very good.
It is multilingual too.
Yeah.
It is not just in Dutch. It is in French. It is in English. It's in German. Like, you'll pick up whatever.
It's not hard to follow the story.
Yeah. And a lot of the story is musical and visual.
Yeah.
As well.
And a lot of the songs, even if they don't necessarily say every word in English, a lot of the songs are in English.
Yeah.
So,
and you'll get the story.
It's a very pretty story.
It is a good show, and it lasts an hour and 15, hour and 20.
Yeah.
It wasn't a long show. There was no intermission.
I don't think there was intermission.
It was just straight through.
Yeah.
So, highly recommend you do that if you have time. But if you don't, or if you want to squeeze an extra hour of the park, I think this does start an hour before park close, if memory serves.
Yeah.
I would say, do what you want to do.
I don't know if it goes off every night too. It might take breaks. Because I remember when we wanted to go see it, they were like, "Oh, you have to wait till this day or something," and we were able to get tickets for it.
Luckily, we were there for 5 straight days.
So. Yeah. Yeah, probably not it may not, there may not be like last minute availability. They do advertise the show in like all the Efteling area hotels, and they get at the time we got a discount for it by staying on property. So
I think that is consistent. I think that has been a thing since the show's most recent iteration.
Even for like a €24 ticket, it's a pretty good show.
It was €12 per person to see it from the hotel.
Yeah, well, we got a 50% off.
50% off is pretty
ticket.
It's nice.
But I'm just saying, like, for that scale of show, I mean, you can't pay €24 to go see Cirque du Soleil at Disney.
No, you cannot. Nope. Paranormal Cirque is a nice US stand-in, though. Different vibe. Similar spectacular.
Yeah, the spectacle.
The total time commitment you can get in a main season was probably about 9 hours. Might be 10, maybe 11 if you're very, very lucky, depending on the time of year. But for the most part, this park is not as, I would say, like Disney is open from like 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. sometimes. And this is not one of those types of parks. This is more a lived experience.
Yeah. I mean, I still think we were there. I think we could get in at 9 or 9:30. I can't remember. And then it was open until 9. So we had almost 12-hour days sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But it depends on the time of year.
Yeah.
We're recommending about 9 hours for the first time.
We also were able to run back to our room and grab stuff or take a quick
It's true.
break.
And if we hadn't have done that, we would have had more time in the park.
Yeah, but we did good.
Total cost at most, converted to US currency, I averaged about $120 per person. That includes dinner at Ravelin. So if you don't do dinner at Ravelin, you're spending, I believe it's converted, it wound up being like just under $50 a person to go into the park. Plus, give or take $20 for food that you'd be buying, quick service meals and whatnot. So, not bad at all.
No.
I think, in summary, Efteling is awesome, and everything in the United States is not. But it's hard not to see it that way. Once you've been someplace as spectacular as Efteling, there's a reason it is our favorite theme park at this point. And we do love American theme parks. We do. And we've had a lot of great memories in Disneyland and Hershey Park and Universal and SeaWorld and all these other fabulous places that we've been domestically. But nothing has ever felt more like home than Efteling did. And that was on day one. And the longer we were there, the more like home it felt.
So hard to say goodbye. I didn't want to leave.
We're going back.
Yeah.
We can't tell you when, because as soon as we do, we're committed to it. And then if something changes, we'll be crestfallen. But we are going.
We are going back one way or another.
Creator Spotlight. We wanted to highlight some Dutch creators that we have followed since going to the Netherlands and experiencing Efteling. And a lot of these folks have been to Efteling and have content from Efteling as well. So it felt like a natural bridge. Thrillstastic actually works at Toverland, which is the other theme park we visited. I don't think we'll be able to do a one day at Toverland live stream because I feel like we missed a lot still.
Yeah, we had technically like a day and a half in Toverland.
And we did a lot of attractions twice. But it's a really
I don't feel like we can speak to a more lived experience there.
Yeah. I think if you want to know more about Toverland, you can watch our vlog or you can go to our live stream on Efteling and Toverland where we talk about it a little more.
One of these Dutch people, that's probably been there way more.
That's sort of what I was transitioning to, yeah. So Thrillstastic is a lively Dutch gentleman that works at Toverland and has a lot of content from Toverland, but also travels all over the country and the continent doing, and even internationally. I think he was at Universal Domestic not that long ago. So check out Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and he has a podcast, which is very, very popular. Thrillstastic, again, great Dutch resource and great theme park content as a whole. Buncharted is more relevant for American viewers who are interested in learning more about Dutch culture and about Efteling. These are actually Americans that transplanted to the Netherlands. What lucky souls. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, and they don't, we romanticize our trip to Europe because we were there on vacation and we had everything, served to us. We didn't have to do anything ourselves for the most part. So we can't speak to the true Dutch experience that I'm sure people live every day. Uncharted can, because they actually live there and they can talk about all the cultural differences, the pain points, the things that they're learning as they go, and the things that are better. And one of those things is undoubtedly Efteling. So they have an Instagram and they have a YouTube. The YouTube is obviously their primary, and they have a lot of really great content that's really fascinating to watch. Lastly, Dutch Theme Park Network, theme park being one word. This team actually found us from our having posted Efteling vlogs and followed us, and we have reciprocated and have really enjoyed their content since. And they are in Efteling, Toverland, Walibi, Belgium every day, all the time. They're trying to keep up with all the new stuff that comes out. And they do have a relatively up-to-date website, but you can also check out YouTube for like update videos. I don't think daily, but weekly for sure. So if you're interested in any of that information, they have it all. Our next live stream is one that Katie recommended, because when we were doing our coaster
ranking, I was like, I can't just rank these based on how great the theming is. I have to talk about coaster elements. And I was like, there's too many rides.
Theming is a big player in how we rank our coasters internally. Yeah. So we did a live stream recently on our favorite, or the best coasters that we've been on objectively as we could. And theming wise, we decided to isolate out our favorite themed roller coasters, because we have ridden enough of those, including at Efteling. Yeah. And many of the coasters we've discussed at Efteling are in our top 10 at Toverland. So we thought that would be a good live stream on its own, and a kind of natural transition.
Yeah, kind of blends the last couple, and then we'll have to figure out something else to talk about.
We have a list.
You have a list?
Okay. I have a list.
I have a list.
I'm not saying it's not great, but is it
if it's in my top
so 10. Spectacularly themed that we would put it in the top 10?
I would put it on top smooth coasters.
It is butter smooth.
It is butter smooth. Top spinning coasters.
We'll save this discourse for a future live stream.
Yeah, gotta talk about it.
Thank you all so much for joining us. I know that Efteling isn't relevant to a lot of American viewers, but hopefully to those who are interested in visiting Efteling someday, hopping across the pond, as the Brits say, to experience things overseas. We hope you've kind of learned a little bit, at least, from our experience. If not, again, you can check out our actual vlogs, which will have a lot of information about what our day was actually like at Efteling. We did 2 back-to-back vlog days, and then we had a day and 2 halves to ourselves to just kind of explore and take it all in. And it was by far the greatest theme park experience we've ever had. Just a wonderful, wonderful place. And of course, to any Dutch viewers who are watching the replay, thank you so much for watching. We hope we haven't absolutely butchered your language and your culture. And we appreciate you all following us along and, following
being interested in what we think and feel about Efteling, and connecting with us on that level. It's been really nice.
We appreciate it. We are enamored with Dutch culture since having visited, and as you can tell, however pitifully, we are trying to learn Dutch so that we can be better guests the next time we come.
Be better next time. Yeah.
We'll be better. We'll be our better selves. All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and close it out here. We will see you all in 2 weeks' time for our next live stream. I'm going to fade the music out gently here.
Fade the music out gently.
Until next time, I've been Tim.
Ik ben Katie?
Oh, you threw me under the bus, dog. And every day
is a new adventure.
And we will see you again soon. Veel te rusten. Tot ziens.
Doei.